What's up, guys? Welcome to this week's episode of The Breakdown. My name is Andrew. I got Amanda with me.
Hi, everyone.
And each week, what we do, we will take the message from Sunday and we simply break it down. And we'll talk about a couple things that were pointed out to us, a couple of ways that we can apply these throughout the week. But for this series today, we actually started a new series called Battle Ready.
Yes.
And we're going to do this just a little bit different over the next couple weeks, okay? So what we want to do, we want together as Long Hollow to memorize the Ephesians 6, 10 through 18 passage, all about the armor of God. Yeah. So we're going to take those chunks and we're going to talk about a chunk of that each week. And then we're going to encourage you to memorize this passage as well. So be looking out on social. You'll see some memory verses that we're posting that you can actually screenshot, save as your background, all these things. Good. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. But basically, Amanda, I'd love to hear from you first. What is maybe one thing that jumped out to you today in the message, and then we'll break down this passage as well.
Yeah, sure. So definitely one thing that stood out to me was just right at the end of Pastor Robby asking, do you believe without a shadow of a doubt that God will provide for you today?
Right.
And he did a really nice call out there of can you believe in him today? Because if you don't believe in that today, then how on earth could you believe that he's going to bring you to heaven one day?
Right.
If you can't even believe for today's needs. And I think that's a really good reminder.
Yeah.
Just to think through that. And I think that's a question that you have to ask yourself on the daily.
Right. And I thought that was a really practical way to, I have no problem believing that my salvation is secure for eternity.
Right.
But do I practically trust God with every single day? That was a really good question to ponder and way to make that, apply to my everyday life.
Yeah.
One thing I loved in the message is he was talking about how Jesus modeled for us how to counteract temptation. To counteract temptation. And what we're going to learn in this series is that God has supplied, Jesus has already gone before us, right? So he's already conquered all this on the cross, and he's also already given us everything we need to defeat the enemy.
Amen.
We just have to take hold of that and to actually use that. So, we're going to learn some interesting insights from there. But Pastor also talked about how Satan is crafty, but he's not really creative. So he kind of has a game plan that he runs. And once we learn what his schemes are, then we can identify those and we know how to counteract and how to fight back also. Because it's not if battles are going to happen, it's when. They are going to happen. So there was one passage he talked out of, 2 Corinthians 2:11. Can you read that one for me?
Yeah, so it says, so that we may not be taken advantage of by Satan, for we are not ignorant of his schemes.
That's right. So he has schemes. So as we begin to identify those, we'll see where he's trying to work, and we can see how God can work, to counteract that as well. Yeah. So Ephesians 6, verses 10 through 18. This week we're going to focus on verse 10 and 11. It talks about schemes as well. It says, finally, be strengthened by the Lord and by his vast strength. Put on the full armor of God so that you can stand against the schemes of the devil. Stand against the schemes of the devil. So again, one, we can identify these schemes so that we know how to fight back. But also it talks about putting on the full armor of God. So for me, it's this idea of, or Pastor actually taught me this. So Pastor told me that every morning he'll wake up and he will prayerfully and almost even physically put on the armor of God. He'll put on the helmet of salvation, et cetera, the sandals of peace, all this stuff. He'll pray and put these on, and it just kind of keeps it at the forefront of his mind. So how can you see that helping us as we battle, as we have temptations, as we battle spiritual warfare, as we make dumb decisions on our own? Sometimes we blame the devil for the dumb things we just do ourselves.
Right, exactly.
But how can you see, tapping into this armor of God being helpful?
Well, I think as you take apart all the different pieces, you can really see the value in them of how they all work and how they're all important, but they really only work best when they're all put together.
Yeah.
It can only help so much in battle if you only put on the breastplate, because you're still leaving your head exposed, your feet aren't ready. If you've only put on your boots, then you don't have anything else to help you out. And so I think that's really, really important, is that when you are putting on this armor, you're not just picking and choosing the different pieces that you think you might need for the day. Regardless of what you think is going to happen, you've got to do the whole thing.
Yeah. And so I know Amanda, you like to bake.
I do.
And you had some interesting thoughts just of how that's super practical there. So
Yeah, definitely. So during when I bake a recipe or anything like that, I have had a time where I've been halfway through a recipe and I realized that I've just assumed that I have this ingredient and I am out of eggs. I'm out of flour. I didn't have enough of chocolate chips.
Vanilla, whatever,
something was not in the pantry and the whole recipe is then ruined. It's something that's oh my gosh, I can't wait, to go to the grocery store to get this. It has to be done now. And so that whole recipe's got to be thrown out. And so now when I think about baking a recipe, I get out everything I need beforehand. I'm checking to make sure, and that makes a good product. And it's just that preparedness mindset.
Being prepared before you start something. So here's the thing. Like I said, it's not if but when these temptations, these battles happen.
Right.
So it's important to be prepared beforehand. It makes me think of when Jenny and I were getting married, we were engaged. We signed up to run the Nashville Marathon. I was invested, y'all. I bought a pair of running shoes. I got a gym membership. I even went and ran twice.
Wow.
But then I gave up. I'm like, this is crazy. I don't even want to run if I'm being chased. I'm not about this running life. I don't know why people do it. Anyways.
I don't like it.
But then a couple years later, I got in a situation where a friend of mine had a UTV accident and he was stuck and I had to run for help. And it was a while until I got to the closest house, and it took everything in me to get there. I wanted to give up multiple times. I was not ready. And it made me think back to, hey, I was going to prepare to run this race, and I gave up. And then when the time came and I needed to be able to run, I was not able to run. So when you think about the armor of God, it's important to keep it on the forefront of your mind and your heart, and to even spiritually put on this armor of God, because the battle's coming.
It is.
And it's better to have it on beforehand, just like having all the ingredients beforehand, so that you're ready for when it comes. So what I want to challenge you with is this. I want to challenge you to memorize over the next 5 weeks, which is how long this series is, to memorize Ephesians 6:10 through 18. So if you follow us on all the social at Long Hollow, we're going to be posting kind of a wallpaper, like I said. You can screenshot, you can save it. And the cool thing is we're all doing this together.
Yeah,
I don't know about you, but it really helps me knowing that you're memorizing, everybody's memorizing this with me, and I'm not on my own doing this.
It's the accountability.
So it's the accountability there, and just being a part of something bigger than myself. So that's our encouragement to you. As we walk through this series, we want you to memorize the Armor of God passage, and let's keep it on the forefront of our mind. This is so silly, but have you heard the TikTok that Holy Spirit activate?
Holy Spirit activate.
Yeah. So, oh my God, it's going around everywhere, and it's so goofy, but it is so stuck in my mind. My little kids are singing it, but it's helped me being on the I'll be in a situation, and I'm like, okay, no, what would the Holy Spirit do right now? It is so, as silly as that is, it's on the forefront of my mind, and it really helps me. So as we memorize this passage, it's going to help it stay on the forefront of your mind as we fight these battles together. So that's it, y'all. Follow us on social at Long Hollow. Thanks for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week on The Breakdown.